Hello and welcome to Custom Gamer. My name is Daz and this is the show where we talk about level design while playing cool maps. Today we're having a look at another Quake map. This one is by Shaun aka Kona. It was released on the 1st of July 2003, and Kona has released a lot of Quake maps in his time. He was kind of started mapping around 2000 and his last map was released in 2004, 2005, somewhere around that. He's got the entire of the ALK series, which is about 14 separate releases, and he's got various other independent releases as well, of which this is one of them. Now on this first level here there are 3 maps in total. This first one is kind of like an introduction map, so we're kind of picking up a little bit of equipment in the start here. And the thing that really stands out in this series is obviously Kona has a very distinctive architectural style that's evident in all of his maps. Kind of very interesting rock work, as you can see here. It's fantastic to look at. Of course the texture here is from Unreal, and in my opinion is one of the best rock textures ever made in an FPS game. It's just amazing. It looks great in Unreal, it looks great in Quake, which is amazing considering the colour palettes are so different. Wherever you put this rock texture it looks brilliant. It tiles so well. You can't really see the seams at all. It's got a lot of interesting detail to it. It's just an amazing texture. And of course, sort of Kona's biggest architectural style is these kind of huge buttresses that he uses all around his maps. You'll see some in a minute once we get into some more built up areas, but if you've ever played a Kona map then you'll probably agree with me that just these huge kind of bulky architecture and buttresses lining just about every wall and surface is definitely something he really likes to do. And this mod also features a lot of new weapons and enemies. You've probably noticed a couple already. So you've got the little baby fiends which jump around and can actually be very dangerous if they get you in a corner. There's lots of new night variants as well, which you'll see in a moment. Some of the new weapons, honestly, I didn't like a lot of them. They felt very gimmicky or just not very useful at all. Some of them were quite nice though. There's a new kind of grenade launcher, which is kind of like a hit scan rocket launcher almost, which was pretty useful. A little bit overpowered, you might say. But you do need good aim to use it. Most of the new enemies are actually quite fun to fight against though. Some of the new shamblers are especially nasty, which you'll see in later parts. So there's a couple of variants of ogres. You've seen the nail gun ogre at the start, which is, he can't take as much damage but dishes out a little bit less damage himself as well. You've got the multi-grenade ogres here that you can see. So this flame launcher actually regenerates ammo, which makes it quite handy, even though it's not very powerful. You can set enemies on fire if you hit them enough with it, though the fire damage doesn't really seem to be that great, so this is definitely a kind of last resort weapon. I don't really use it too much, unless I'm really trying to save ammo. So this first map is actually fairly small. It kind of winds back in on itself. Once you get up to the top here you end up revisiting a lot of old areas from the top rather than down at the bottom. Unfortunately, with all this crazy rocky architecture there are a couple of clipping bugs, which you can see here. There's a couple of instances of like getting caught on the side of things, which is kind of typical with Quake engine stuff really. The engine was never really designed to create really complex kind of rocky maps like this. And there are a couple of quirks with the compiler, shall we say, when you're using a lot of strange angled brushes like this. There can be surfaces that have no clipping, there can be kind of invisible walls in certain areas. It's a little bit like black magic, trying to work out what causes this stuff and how to fix it. It's actually kept to a fair minimum in this map actually, but there are a couple of instances later on where it can be a little bit annoying. So we've got these knights from the Nahara mod as well, that was released in 2000 I think. I really must do a playthrough of that. It's a huge mod and possibly one of the most important mods made for Quake. It's ridiculous amount of work went into that, so yeah, we'll have to play that at some point. Now we come up to a boss room. This fight's actually quite fun because it pushes you back like this and then kind of spawns a knight behind you. Now typically I really dislike back spawning like this. I think it's a really cheap way to kind of damage or kill the player. But in this instance I actually quite like it because you can actually hear the knight before you see him, so you know there's something there. And there's actually a long sight line where you can actually see the knight once he rounds the corner before you kind of jump right into him. So it actually makes this, because you're running back there to retreat obviously. And then when you hear enemies, you know, back behind you, it makes you very, very tense. You're not quite sure what's there. So yeah, back spawning can be done right. Most of the time it's not though, it's just very, very cheap, unfortunately. So we kill the demon queen, which suffers from, it's just way too easy to kill basically. She's invulnerable until you get up close to her and she attacks and lowers her shield. Pretty standard mechanic I guess. But it's just, the timings are way too loose, so it's just extremely easy to kind of bait her into an attack and then just unload into her until she dies. There's practically zero chance of getting hit if you do it right. Now these enemies I'm really not fond of. Just kind of human enemies with grenade launchers. Really doesn't fit in with the Quake aesthetic, I think. Whereas most of the other monsters here, although I don't really like the new skins for a lot of them, they tend to fit into the whole Quake vibe. But yeah, those human enemies really don't. So we've got some more variants on the Nahara Knights here. There's some more variants coming up in later parts that throw kind of chunks of rock at you as well, which are incredibly nasty. This guy's like a super hell knight. Those lava bolts he fires are really nasty. You really don't want to get hit by them. And that is the end of part 1. There are 2 more maps in this set, so I'll probably just do a part 2 combining the second 2 maps because the last one is really short. But yeah, it's been really fun so far, and I'll be back with part 2 very soon.